for Lux family, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kanisha. If you are new, my channel is called Lux Living for Less, and on this channel I try to give you as many tips as I can on how to live a fabulous lifestyle on a for less budget. When I'm giving you those tips, sometimes I'll break away and give you other things like story times or vlogs or a combination of the two. One of you guys asked me for another story time, so here I am with another story time. This is about the time where the doctors thought I was pregnant. This story time takes me back to 1989. I was an 8th grade 14-year-old girl. It was around the Easter holidays and the doctors thought I was pregnant. Dun dun dun. Yes. So let me tell you about what happened. So picture it in my Sophia voice.
Picture it. Sicily, 1912.
Picture it. Easter, 1989. Me, 14-year-old girl. It's Easter weekend. My grandmother and I and everybody else were out shopping for Easter clothes, last minute Easter socks, all the Easter things, right? Easter Day rolls around. What comes with Easter Day? You have all of the pastel colors, you have the big socks, you have the, all the pomp and circumstance that comes with Easter. So we're in church, we're going through the Easter program, all is well in the land. All right, so what do you do on Easter Day most of the time? You eat candy, you go on Easter egg hunts, and you eat the eggs and eat the candy. That is where this story starts to unfold. So the evening of Easter, after everything had started to wind down, I started to feel a little sick. And my grandmother had told me earlier, stop eating all of those eggs. I'm 14 years old. I'm listening, but I'm not listening. So as I'm starting to feel a little sick, my grandmother is saying, I told you not to eat all those eggs. I told you to stop eating that candy and you didn't want to listen, blah, blah, blah. All the things that grandmothers and mothers say about when they told you not to do something and you do it and then you're reaping the consequences of what it is they told you not to do. That was me. So my grandmother gives me Pepto-Bismol, Alka-Seltzer, all of the other home remedies, Karo syrup, all of the other home remedies that's going to try to help clean my system out to basically just make me go. Nothing worked. Well, throughout the night, the pain started to get a little worse. Not to the point of where I'm terribly uncomfortable, but I am definitely more uncomfortable than I was a few hours before. Fast forward to the next morning, I am in pain. All right. My grandmother goes to work. It's Easter Monday, so there's no school. My grandmother goes to work and she says, if you're not feeling any better by the time I get home, we're going to the hospital. Of course, no, I don't want to go to the hospital because who wants to go to the hospital? I mean, I'm on Easter break. At the time they called it Easter break. Now they call it spring break. I don't want to spend the start of my Easter break in no freaking hospital. I just didn't want to do it. Needless to say, my grandmother is checking up on me throughout the day and I'm not feeling any better. I can remember I'm laying around in the bed at this point. I'm wailing because the pain now is starting to come and go. And looking back, since I've had a child, it was coming and going almost like a contraction. I didn't know to use that description then because I didn't have any kids and I had never been pregnant at that point. But now here in my present day life, knowing what a contraction feels like, that's what it was giving, y'all. I hadn't even had a menstrual cycle at this point. Let me just throw that in. So my body was virginized. It was fresh. It was untouched. It was all the things. Okay, let's keep that in mind. So my grandmother gets home. Of course, she kept her promise and said, if you weren't feeling any better, we're going to the hospital. Guess what happened when she got home? We went to the hospital. I was crying. I didn't want to go. I don't want to go. Get to the hospital. By the time I get to the hospital, I am really in pain. And I'm thinking, I'm never eating an egg again. I'm never eating a boiled egg again. I'm never doing it, blah, 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 blah. I have sworn off Easter eggs at this point. Now, the crazy thing is, I didn't swear off boiled eggs. I swore off Easter eggs. Aren't they the same thing? Anyway, that just tells you where the mind of a 13-year-old child is. We don't know nothing, child. We just be dumb as a box of rocks. So here I am in the hospital. Now, I need to add in this story that my grandmother's sister, who has since passed on, was a nurse at the time at a local hospital here in Jacksonville. Not the hospital that I went to, not the emergency room of the hospital that I went to, but she was a nurse at a completely different hospital. So she was kind of a key player in all of this, and we were glad that she was there. So they take me to the back. I'm crying because now I'm really in pain. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm still cursing the name of those damn Easter eggs because in my head, that's what it was that made me sick. Doctor comes in. Now, I'm a 13, 14-year-old girl. I think I was 13. My birthday was coming up in a couple of weeks. My birthday's at the end of April. And if I'm not mistaken, this was maybe around early April, maybe second week of April. So I think I was 13 getting ready to turn 14. But anyway, so this doctor comes in, a male doctor who does not look like me. Okay. And immediately he starts to diagnose me by my symptoms without him even asking any type of questions. He's simply looking at my chart and he begins to diagnose me. Now, the doctor is telling my grandmother and my aunt, remember, she is going to be a key player in all of this. He is telling her, I think she's pregnant. My eyes, my grandmother's eyes, and my aunt's eyes were like, what? And I said, no, I'm not pregnant. No, I'm not pregnant. And then he says, are you sure? Are you sexually active? He's almost interrogating me at this point. My grandmother and my aunt are trying to explain this to this doctor. He just ain't hearing it. He proceeds to say he needs to do a pap smear to see how far along I am.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What? What? My grandmother and my aunt are like, are you kidding? This man wants to do a pap smear on me because he assumes that I am pregnant based off of the symptoms that I presented. Okay? Needless to say, that pap smear did not happen. My aunt flexed her muscles a little bit, if you will, and we ended up with another male doctor who did not look like me, but he was a lot nicer, probably because he didn't want no smoke with my grandma and my aunt, because my aunt and my grandma by this time are about ready to, nuck if you buck. Like, they were really, really, really upset and quite offended, as they should have been. This doctor says, let me do an exam on her. He lifts up my hospital gown and he presses on my stomach. He presses on the right side of my stomach, you guys, and I screamed bloody murder. Because when he pressed, it was so much pain. He says, I think she's having a problem with her appendix. I didn't know what no appendix was. I'm a little kid at this point. I didn't know. I just was thinking the Easter eggs is what had done made me sick. And that's why I'm up here in these people's hospital room. So he did an ultrasound, wasn't really able to get a clear view of the ultrasound. Now, you guys got to remember, this was back in '89. Medical technology has come such a long way. What he couldn't see on that cloudy ultrasound back then, he probably could get a really good view of it today. So my aunt says, okay, what's the next step? He then too wanted to do a pap smear. My aunt said, oh, hell no, you're not. And my grandma said, oh, hell F no, you're not. My grandma was, a little bit more about that life back then. I'm just gonna say that. That pap smear did not happen. My aunt said, you need to get her a CAT scan. Now, mind you, remember now, my aunt was just a nurse. This is the doctor. You know, those doctors be real territorial about their stuff, but my aunt was not having it. Needless to say, I got a CAT scan and it was confirmed that my appendix was at the point of which it was about to rupture, which is what was causing the pain. Now, the doctor says she has a bad appendix. We need to get her a surgery immediately because if her appendix bursts, she could die because it it basically is going to flood a lot of poison in her body and gangrene and all this here kind of stuff. My grandma at this point is freaking out because now they've said if we don't do this right now, she's going to die because her appendix is going to burst. Of course, my grandmother said, go ahead and do the surgery. They prepped me for surgery and rushed me to surgery. I have the appendix, the bad appendix removed. Now, let me just say this. Now, the appendix is something that really serves no purpose, really, in your body. But it's something that can kill you if it goes bad. Isn't that crazy? Like, isn't that just the craziest thing? But moving on. I have the surgery. I have my appendix removed. The next day, I feel better, but I feel worse. I feel better because this appendix that was causing me this pain is gone, but I feel worse because the pain from the appendectomy is now giving me grief. Needless to say, I stay in the hospital. I think it was 3 days at that point, and I recover. They discharged me from the hospital with this whole list of instructions on what I can't do. I can't eat anything with any acid, like orange juice or, soda. I can't have a lot of salt. Basically, my diet was reduced to water and like oatmeal and stuff that was just bland soup, no acid, no salt, no nothing, because it didn't want to aggravate this new surgery that I had in my belly. And you guys know that your stomach is a very sensitive area. If you've ever had any type of abdominal surgery, including like a C-section, you'll know that they want you to pass gas and or have a bowel movement before you leave, because a lot of the pressure that comes from expelling things from your body is done with your core, and they don't want anything to happen negatively that can disrupt the healing of those areas that were cut. So they told my grandmother, watch to make sure she has a bowel movement. I was pooting all over the place. I mean, me passing gas was not a problem, honey. I was poop, 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 poop to my loo. Poop, 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 poop to my loo. Bowel movements were another thing. I probably didn't have a bowel movement for like a week and a half. And I think I had one because my grandmother gave me a laxative to make me go. And thinking back on it, I think I was kind of like trying not to go because I was so scared of what it was going to feel like, given what the doctors had told my grandma. Child, my grandma was like, you getting that out of you. And that's exactly what I did. But probably about maybe 2 weeks later, I felt amazing. I can even remember 2 weeks later, I was outside. Kids, when they're young, your body is resilient and you snap back like that. Child, now I'm going to need to be out a whole 6 weeks from the people workplace. But I healed up very nicely. The only thing that I wish the technology in medicine was a little bit better, to where they had laparoscopic options back then, because my surgery was done traditional, a scalpel, honey. They cut me. And let me show you the scar that I have. Here's my scar from my appendectomy right here. And you can see this right here. This right here is never going away. Like, my stomach can be on flat, and this will always be pudgy because of the way and how they cut me. But I consider it my battle scar. It doesn't really bother me, and I can wear like shapewear or something to kind of mask it or hide it. Sometimes if I'm trying on clothes and I turn to one side, you will see it sticking out, but child, I don't care because I'm still cute or whatever, okay? But that is the story time about the time they thought I was pregnant, this 13-year-old girl, and I thought I had gotten superfood poisoning from the Easter eggs down to the Easter egg hunt. But that is my story time, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it amusing. If you have not subscribed, please be sure to do so before you leave. I would love to have you as a part of this family. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I'll see you the next time. Bye.